So today, long game. Presentation, I put it out to the members page and a few of you guys chipped back in and asked what do you want, so that's where it's come from. So before we get into it, obviously I'm Alex, most of you will know me. Lucy's probably the only one that doesn't really. So my background is chiro, strength and conditioning. I've been coaching for just over 10 years now. And then prior to that, I was in Army as an aircraft tech. So for me with my training, I started CrossFit in 2012, really got into it, loved the performance aspect of it and the variety of it. I got quite bored of the typical bodybuilding sort of routine, and CrossFit gave me that different stimulus, and then realized it's very mediocre and just went more towards the enjoying it for the fun and keeping me entertained. So why I do this and how I coach, and I guess sort of the whole crux of it is I want to be doing this when I'm 90 years old. Like that is what I want. And I also want to be able to do it so that I can always keep up with my children and, you know, hopefully relatively look reasonably healthy at the same time and live an easier life than what it would be without it. So that's what we're going to center on. Today we're going to go really more into the CrossFit hybrid world because that's obviously what we do. So we'll tailor it more to that than just general pop. But a lot of it applies to everyone in general. So key points today. So the real problem that I see often with CrossFit is just poorly managed training. And it's not through lack of effort, it's more just perhaps not as well structured, or I understand people's lives are very much important in it. But it can always be done better, and I'm always trying to push it to be better. So this is why I really want to deliver this for it. So we'll start off with our injuries. We'll go into a little bit of science, and then we'll come back to how you're going to manage it with it. So 4 horsemen of injuries. Acute. Pretty much like you fall off the rig and you break your arm. It's pretty simple, nothing really revolutionary on that. Chronic, that's what we're going to see a lot of. So I get a lot of people, especially in clinic, coming in with long-term back pain, often associated with a previous injury. Injuries leave a legacy, and that will play through for the rest of your life in certain contexts. And then we can have our overuse. So this is what I would see probably most common in this space. So rotator cuff, knees, ankles, low back to a degree. And it's just from the work we do, the intensity we do it, and the volume at which we do it. So a lot of that will center around tendons, and we'll go into that later. And then lastly is pain. Now, I love CrossFit because everyone loves to hurt, but then also no one loves like a sore back. So the relationship with pain is quite bipolar in some degrees. So really what I want to get across with pain is it's not a report on what's actually damaged, it's a signal. And that signal can get muddied pretty easily, and it can change over time. All right, so on that. So pain is your nervous system's threat to response. So it's not a direct readout of tissue. You can have immense pain with little structural damage, and you can have immense structural damage with little pain. They don't correlate very well. So what I'm trying to say is that just because you're hurting, and for example, if you get an imaging report or something and you see this imaging report and it has all the structural stuff on it, it doesn't mean it's going to be pain. You can't see pain on an image, and pain will also fluctuate on mood, it fluctuates on everything else surrounded with it. Oh yeah, sweet. So use it more as a guide than is necessarily a definitive way of using your training. And then I use a traffic light system. So with my rehab and athletes and that sort of stuff, I sort of work on the traffic light system to guide you through rehab and training with pain a little bit. So it's out of a scale of 10. Now everyone obviously 10 is going to be different. 1 to 3, you're going to work through it pretty much. There's going to be some discomfort, and that's okay. And you'll notice that too when you're training. Some things hurt, but it sort of gets better as you start training, or it just doesn't really escalate anymore. And you're like, okay, sweet, that's fine, and it doesn't hurt too much after that. Once we start pushing to that 4 or 5, then I'm looking to modify, I'm looking to scale that load, or I'm changing range of motion. Cool? And then once we start getting up and over that, then it's pretty much we're switching and substituting, and then going from there. So for me, with my Achilles, had lots of issues with that. I pretty much live on that 3. It doesn't pain never really goes away, but it doesn't really flare up now because I've been able to get it under control. But that's just my life now, and that's sort of how the discomfort works with that. All right, so load equals stress. Load is the one thing you can control, and it's probably the biggest thing that's going to impact your training. So load, I would say, is the umbrella term. And then that is going to be the result of what causes all injuries. So to get injured, you have to exceed the capacity of a tissue. That's it. Pretty much plain and simple. Like, that's biology. Like, if you fall over, you break your arm, there was too much force and the bone snapped. If you tore a muscle, there's too much force in the muscle and it's popped. Like, that's it. Simple. But how that load is measured is a few different ways. So we're going to go external versus internal. So external is what we do in the gym. So that's your reps, sets, times, volume, intensity, and all the rest of it. Those are all factors you can control. Then we have our internal load. So we have that which is our psychological. So life stresses, financial stress, family stress, all these other stresses, they will take a toll on your body as well, and they will add to that external load. And then those external load will also then cause internal load through just physiology that you'll have to manage as well. So when I think about load in general, it's not just, okay, what did I do at the gym today, those heavy set of back squats? It's like, I have so much work to do at home. I have to start making money. That's compounding in my head while I'm training, and that's making that squat session a lot harder and things like that. So it's not just purely what you see on the bar or what you see there, and it will change day to day, week to week. So recovery is going to be the bridge between it. All right. Out of curiosity, who's been told if you do CrossFit, you get injured? Has anyone said, oh, I do CrossFit, I do injuries? Yeah. Sweet. The literature disagrees with you. They've done some studies on it. Question? Oh, no, I disagree. Oh, sweet, yeah. So CrossFit actually has one of the lowest injury rates in general. I like this. I like to say this because I get it all the time, and it annoys me because it's not true, simply. And anything has injuries. You know, you could fall over in the street and roll your ankle and that's an injury, but how do you measure that against CrossFit? So in actual terms of per 1,000 hours, it is very, very low. And as you can see, sevens is at the top, and then it's that trail down. Obviously, bodybuilding is at the bottom because it's pretty, very well structured and contained as compared to CrossFit, which is a bit more dynamic and that sort of stuff. So if anyone tells you that you're going to get injured, just say no. All right, so we harp on a lot about technique. And I love technique, but I don't love it purely on the basis of it's going to stop you getting injured. Injuries, like I said, are a factor of over-stressing a tissue. So where poor technique comes in for me is efficiency for one. Like, I always want to move faster and better. So that's a big one for technique. But poor technique is more, it distributes load across structures that may not be targeted or ready to receive that load that you're going to put through it. So for example, like with the deadlift, I'm not super strict on neutral spine, but I'm also not going to coach someone in a Jefferson curl to do a deadlift, unless that's the context of which I'm doing. So Jefferson curl being, for those, it's a very much that flexed over spine. You can do it, but I'm not going to do a 1RM deadlift and a 1RM Jefferson at the same way. They're going to be two different things. So the context is dependent on that. So yes, technique matters, but not in the same that it's going to protect you, because I've seen people with very poor technique, like subjectively, lift for many years and not get any injuries. Their backs round out, that's fine, and they've just built their capacity around it, like they are strong in that regard. And then also you'll see those that come in to CrossFit or whatever element that you're doing, there's also the element of learning. So technique's not going to be perfect, and it's never going to be perfect. You can always get it better, but you also just have to then cater for those athletes to work on that technique, but also give them the chance to push, because I've never also seen a 1RM that's been perfectly technical. Like, you know, if you see someone pushing a 1RM deadlift, it generally looks like a bar fight, I guess, in a way of saying it. There's no straight neutral back in a deadlift. There's no just like this perfect little lifting up. It's a fight, and you have to get through it. So yes, technique matters, but it's not going to decide really who gets injured at the end of the day. All right, sweet, this is my favorite one. So this came out last year in a paper from Gabbard and Otter. It really just charts what we do in a really good way. So what it is a comparison of recovery time, the volume of work that we do, and then the intensity at which you do it. So as you can see down the bottom, we have our cartilage, so walking, running. Your recovery duration is about 30 minutes. So if you go for a walk afterwards, the cartilage and stuff will be well recovered by that time. Contrast that up to the top left. high CNS, intensive anaerobic activity. That's where CrossFit lives, generally, most of the week. And then if you go across, and that's a plus 72-hour recovery. So if you're here 6 days a week, how are you recovering, is my question with that. So for me, then I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, if I have such a long recovery time, how am I going to be smarter with my training so that I can keep training, but also recover? And that's where we'll get to it from there. And then as you can see, just through the center, we have various other tissue and timing. Does anyone have any questions on that? Sweet. This is just a really heavy text chart. How long will healing take for various tissues? It's more just a guide. If anyone wants this, I've just actually left it text heavy in case anyone wants it, just for injuries and stuff. But a lot of it, I'll just go through it. Muscle, depending on the size of the tear, 1 to 2 weeks, up to months, depending on a full rupture. Tendon, which I see a lot with shoulders, knees, ankles, Achilles, and that sort of stuff. If you've just pissed it off because you've suddenly gone and done a 15K run after never run in your life and your Achilles are hurting, that's going to heal a lot quicker. So that's that sort of 1 to 6 weeks. And then you have your chronic tendon loading issues, which is like mine. So I've had Achilles tendinopathy for now on over 3 years. And I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. It's just to a point. So some injuries you're never going to get rid of. And then some you can. And it also depends on rehab, how you treat it, how you monitor your training load, and all the rest of it. But take that in mind going forward with some of the stuff, because I find a lot of people get quite frustrated with injury recovery and the